I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you...
Greetings, technicians. This is Admin Crow here, your coach of the Toronto Star Raptors, bringing you the, I guess, sort of a mid-season review for the PCL, or more so of a, I guess, just an analysis video of me going over my FAs that I've performed for the team, for the Raptors so far into the league. I would like to talk about the reasons I made those free agent transactions or those trades, as I am out of trades, I guess, FAs at this point of the season. So let's start from the beginning. After week 1, or I guess in the beginning of week 1, as soon as I finished drafting my team, I dropped Primarina the Azura, Dragalge the Adept, and Electivire Shinji. Both Dragalge and Electivire never made a debut on the Raptors. However, Primarina is something that I did bring week 1 and managed to pick up 2 kills versus Facilia, I believe. Initially, I wanted Primarina and Hydreigon both on my roster. That's something I talked about in my draft analysis video, if you guys watched that. However, due to some unfortunate sniping and circumstances, I didn't end up getting Hydreigon due to my Mega pick, since I was forced to go with Mega Lopunny instead of a tier 2 Mega Manectric. So I was actually out of point at that stage of the draft. So I was forced to pick either Primarina or Hydreigon. I end up going with Primarina. However, I realized that I needed a better dragon on my roster, so that's why I dropped Primarina for Hydreigon in the first place. And Hydreigon has a really good synergy with Victini, in a sense that I believe it resists or immune to, I guess, 3 of Victini's weaknesses. One of them being dark, I guess them being dark, ground, and water. And Hydreigon is weak to both Fairy and Ice, while Victini resists both of these. So that's the reason I picked Hydreigon, and it gives me another ground immunity. While this is probably one of the trades that I made early on and also end up regretting a little bit. Not because I picked up Hydreigon, but more so the fact that I lost Primarina, as I do still like Primarina to be on my roster as a backup fairy on top of Clefable, because it's so naturally hard hitting even without setup, which is something Clefable lacks, in my opinion. And moving on to Dragalge, I end up dropping Dragalge for Kofag. That was a super, I guess, a wonderful trade in my opinion, simply because Kofag has the ability Mummy, which effectively remove a lot of the offensive threats physically on my opponent's team, simply because it gets the ability to nullify my opponent's ability, since a lot of physical attackers do get moves that makes contact, and I no longer need Dragalge as a dragon type since I pick up the Hydreigon. And I have been using Kofag quite often, as it was, I believe, the only Toxic Spike user outside of Fortress on my roster. And it gives me a ghost type, which is a spin blocker in a sense, which is very nice just overall to have. And Electivire Shinji, I believe this happened not right away. I could be wrong, but it's either week 1 or week 2. I end up dropping Electivire for Slowking, simply because I dropped Primarina. That means I was lacking a bulky water type at that point. So I was willing to give up my electric type on the roster, as I figure I don't really need electric type to function. I do like the coverage that Electivire provides. It's similar to Victini in a sense. It's almost a poor man's Victini, as it does have a really versatile move pool, and it's be able to hit on both the physical side and special side. It actually has a lot higher physical attack than Victini, and it's just slightly slower. However, its overall bulk is what lets it down. I believe it only has a 60 or 60, a slightly over 60 defense, which I guess in a situation where I want to bring Electivire, I always find Victini a better brain, just because it's safer and it's more bulky in a sense as well. So moving on, fast forward a little bit to last week is when I dropped my ground type Gliscor Wentao for Toxapex. This is when I realized, because of my quick transactions in the beginning, as you can see, I dropped a Dark Resist, which is Primarina, for another Dark Resist, which is Hydreigon, right? However, both my trades, I guess FAs for Dragalge and Electivire, I picked up Kofac and Slowking respectively. Both of these were weak to Dark, so I have a really major Dark type weakness on my roster. So I was trying to work something out. Last week, I believe one of the coaches, I forgot who it was, dropped Toxapex, and I picked it up right away by dropping Gliscor. Gliscor is a very good Pokemon and something that I enjoy using just on the ladder as a whole. However, the quad weakness to Ice type, it's well, not just Ice type, just Ice moves in general, makes me worry a lot. And every week I find myself in a situation where I have to bring, or I guess almost always bring a more specially bulky variant, simply because I want to. I'm like scared of random HP ices from random mons here and there. So that's one of the reasons I was dropping it. And plus, on top of that, Toxapex gives me another bulky water type that's not weak to Dark, which is something Slowking was unable to do. And you'll see with my later transactions what I end up doing with Slowking. And I didn't realize this until I made a transaction. Is another reason that I was really happy about the Toxapex pickup, is that Toxapex and Hydreigon actually makes a phenomenal duo, a defensive core. They actually covers each other's weaknesses completely. Toxapex is weak to Electric, Psychic, and Ground, where Hydreigon is immune to 2 of these and resists 1 of them, while Hydreigon is weak to Dragon. I guess it's weak to Dragon. Toxapex doesn't really cover that. However, it's weak to Fairy. Outside of that, it's weak to Fairy, Ice, and Fighting, I believe. What else? And Bug? Yeah, Fairy, Ice, Bug, and Fighting, which are all, I guess, resisted by Toxapex. So that's really phenomenal. I didn't really realize that until I picked up Toxapex. It was literally the only thing that was left on the table, simply because one of the coach dropped it. There's no way that Toxapex will be left out at the end of the draft, considering it is the 16 people draft in Generations at least. And moving on, it's the trades that I performed last week, or I guess this week. It's gonna take effect this week. I end up dropping Fortress for, what did I pick up? Oh yeah, I end up dropping Fortress with my last FA to get another ground type, since I did drop Gliscor. I went out 1 week without ground type last week versus White Lotus. So he really took advantage of it with his Galvantula, which is something I did expect, simply because I didn't have a ground type at that point. So thankfully we were be able to play around that very well. So this week I did pick up Donphan over the Fortress, simply because it gives me very similar, I guess, utility as Fortress, in a sense that it does get sturdy as well, but a lot more offensive in terms of, I guess, just attack power. And it also gets priority Ice Shard. It has Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin both, but I do lose out on Toxic Spikes and Spikes. Mainly Spikes, simply because Toxapex also gets Toxic Spikes, and I did end up picking Kofac in week 1, so that was another option for me in terms of Toxic Spikes. So I guess, I mean, losing out on Spikes kind of sucks, but I value the offensive power coming from a defensive wall a lot better. And plus, as you can see, I made a trade with Fury. I traded away my Mega Lopunny for his Mega Scizor. In my opinion, Mega Lopunny is a better Mega than Mega Scizor in a Draft League format. However, I didn't have a steel type anymore after I traded away the Fortress. I was really hesitating to drop Fortress for Donphan prior to, I guess, Fury agreed with my trade. He was actually the one who proposed this. Whoops, what did I just do? Anyways, so basically, I traded away my Mega to cover my lack of steel types after I traded away, well, I guess dropped Fortress. And Mega Scizor is very nice, even though it shares exact same typing as Fortress. So typing wise, I don't lose out on anything. However, it can do something that Mega Lopunny can't do previously, which is momentum bringing via a U-turn, which is I guess the general direction I wanted to go for with my draft initially. Because initially I wanted a fast Volt Switch via a Mega Man Electric. Now I have a slow U-turn. It's not exactly the same, however, because the fact that Mega Scizor is so bulky, it also allows me to potentially set up and without fearing, I guess, it to go down in one hit, even with a random HP fire, because I can just run special bulky Scizor with Curse or something to cover both the physical side and the special side, and it does have priority just like Mega Lopunny via a Bullet Punch. It actually hits harder because of the Technician ability, so that's really nice. And of course I need it just for the nickname for Tex, man. Shout out to all the technicians who are watching this video right now. You know who you are. Anyways, so yeah, that's basically the team. However, next week I'm gonna, because Fury agreed to one of my other trade proposals, which is trading away my Slowking, because I don't need two bulky waters on my team both with Regenerator. So he actually agreed with my trade, helping me picking up Whimsicott, which is recently dropped by Clutch. It actually gave me, it's funny how it gave me so much trouble when I was prepping against Clutch. Now Whimsicott is actually coming to my roster. So basically Fury helped me pick it up by using one of his free agencies, and he's gonna be trading me I guess this week, and it's gonna take effect next week. He's gonna be getting my Slowking while I'll be taking the Whimsicott. So the reason behind that is because I didn't really like Lurentis as a bring. A lot of situations I almost brought it against Facidia week 1 versus his Zygarde, but because of Mega Pidgeot, I just don't see myself bringing that. So long story short, in a lot of situations where I can find Lurentis useful, it's always let down by its slow speed and its typing alone. So I really want a second grass type, which is a Whimsicott. I guess in this sense, Whimsicott can play that role as a both Fairy Dragon Steel Core and Fire Water Grass Core, especially the grass part. So I can bring a grass type, I guess another electric resist without having to rely on Lurentis. So that's really good, and it also gives me a second fairy, which is something that I was trying to go for with my initial draft with Primarina and Clefable. And it also has the ability Prankster. It also basically provides me a Prankster defog, and it gives me a lot of potential in terms of the sets I can bring. I'm not gonna try to spoil too much in this analysis. However, you bet you guys can look forward to some interesting Whimsicott sets in the upcoming weeks for sure. So this is pretty much it. The Raptors draft in its final form, I would say, simply because I used up all my FAs and I don't see myself changing the roster way too much outside of trades. And it's unlikely that I trade away any of my current members, simply because I'm actually really satisfied with the roster right now, as opposed to, I guess, what I had before. So yeah, that's gonna be it from me. You bet I'll be packing some heat in the upcoming weeks with the new additions of the roster to the Star Raptors. So yeah, this is gonna be Admin Crow here, signing off. See you in the next one. Goodbye, technicians.